So, hello everyone and welcome to the $400 Map of the Month tournament. Of course, this is not a map you've probably seen, but that's why this tournament is so freaking awesome. This is going to be the first semi-final in between spawning in at the top middle. It is oGsjookTo. His opponent at the middle right, it is Arthur from Slayers. And, of course, this is Map of the Month tournament, so it makes the most sense to talk about the map before we get too far into things. First impressions for me, this looks a lot like that 2v2 map where there's three bases and you have a shared base. I feel like the sound is a little bit too high there. Let's adjust those audio levels. Again, if the audio levels are wrong in any way, please feel free to inform me. But there's that 2v2 map where this would be a base and this would be the shared base and they're connected. And then there's this base over here and then it leads into some bases over here. It actually looks exactly like that map, to be completely honest. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? That 2v2 map. Let me put myself to busy. But let's see, what is this called? What is this map called? I'm going to check on that really quick. This is called Rust in Peace, and it's by Timmay. Have a main base, pretty big main base, leading to the natural expansion. That looks like it could be a little bit tough to wall off, which we can see Arthur doing so. It looks like one more building would fit here, and then I think there's a gap right here from Arthur. The natural third would be still on high ground. That's pretty cool, but there's two entrances to this third base. This seems really easy to defend. So I'd say probably have watchtower control is going to be huge. If Protoss has watchtower control, at least Arthur. This pretty much covers all potential flank attacks, I would imagine. And there's even rocks over here, so you can put a pylon to watch these rocks, have the watchtower control, and you have complete vision of this left side. Which means this will be the only attack path. Taking your third shouldn't be difficult at all, assuming you have your army up here and you have this watchtower controlled. And if your opponent takes that watchtower control, you can easily maneuver your army to deal with that. So that's kind of cool. Ooh, you can take down these rocks and take this natural fourth base. You're still going to be on high ground, and you're going to be right next to your opponent's, at least in Arthur's case in this game, right next to his opponent's natural expansion. This would be a nice pivot point leading off to an attack. Of course, important to note, retain control of these rocks and these two watchtowers. Even observer up here to see the progress of your opponent's fourth base. But, wow, this is a pretty cool map. Again, this is Rest in Peace by Timmay. We'll have to see how Arthur plays this. 3-player symmetry. Middle is pretty small. Just reading some notes I have in front of me. Yeah, I mean, this seems like the expansions like literally progress really aggressively towards oGsjookTo. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's look at openings, though, really quick. Arthur has both of his gases in his main base. As I check my chat to make sure my audio is all good. Cybercore following up that gateway. It's about to finish up. Meanwhile, oGsjookTo getting... Actually, oGsjookTo is staying on 2 base. He's adding on 2 gases in his main. 2 harvesters in one, 3 in the other. Let's see what he uses his first 100 gas on. It's going to be on a layer, so oGsjookTo going for an incredibly fast layer at this point in time. And Arthur going for a Stargate. What kind of scouting has he done? He scouted his opponent's main base. And he scouted the pool timing, but he hasn't seen the gases. He hasn't seen the lack of the third. Right now, oGsjookTo retains map control, has control of those 3 watchtowers in the middle. I'm uncertain about the Stargate positioning. I wonder if an Overlord can chill right here without being disturbed too much. But we see oGsjookTo actually placing his initial Overlords right behind his main base. So let's see what Arthur goes for. This looks like it should be 4 Phoenixes. That being said, though, there's no gases at his natural expansion. He's adding on 2 gateways. Again, I don't see this third being too difficult to hold. Like, I guess there are 2 ramps leading up to that third on this side. But you only got 1 ramp to worry about over here. So I think I would wall this off and maybe leave this open and have my army positioned over here. But again, as long as you have watchtower control, it shouldn't be too big of a deal to cover any sort of counterattack. So maybe I would wall right here, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what Arthur does. Actually making a Void Ray. Has a pylon, but I think he's expecting his opponent to have a third base, and his opponent doesn't. We have to sneeze. Excuse me. Let's see here. So oGsjookTo really staying heavy 2 base right now. 4 of his gases are taking, going for Ling and Fester. Income tab shows 43 to 43. So oGsjookTo playing this incredibly low econ. And Arthur going straight for this third base, but that third, it's quite simply not there. Zealot's coming in here from Arthur. I wonder how surprised he is to see the lack of a third base. Zergling's coming in here from oGsjookTo to try to clean this up, and he's going to back away. And Arthur, let's see if he continues with his aggression or if he backs away. He's starting it back up with pro production, also adding on a robot. So it looks like he was intending to do a lot of damage there through that third base, but seeing as how it's not actually there, it looks like he's not going to be as aggressive as he was planning on being. See Spines and Spores being added on here by oGsjookTo. Arthur has 8 kills on that Void Ray. Phoenix trying to scout what's going on. I think he saw the infestation pit. Oh no, wow, he just missed that infestation pit. That's actually a big deal. He's trying to find out, okay, I see the layer. What tech path did my opponent choose? And he scouted the entire natural expansion. Supposedly scouted the entire main. Didn't see any tech buildings. He just missed that infestation pit. I wonder if he saw those infestors. But 5 more infestors on the way here for oGsjookTo. Maybe he's going to take his third soon? I mean, it seems like he has the money to do so, but he's just positioning his spines a little bit further forward. If he was going to take a third, I would expect the spines to be positioned maybe right here. And let's look at this from a Zerg perspective. This is just a great place to put a lot of spines right here. You're going to be covering your main and your natural. This is the only entrance to this area. So maybe a bunch of spines here, and then a bunch of spines here, just blanketing across. And then you're going to be completely safe on 3 bases. I don't see a Protoss being able to break that. And this base is further from your opponent, so it should be relatively easy to defend. Of course, this watchtower control is incredibly important to hold. Arthur still being really annoying with this Void Ray and 3 Zealots. Taking out plenty of creep tumors. And oGsjookTo, what is he up to? Still no third base. oGsjookTo is just staying incredibly low econ. 52 harvesters. That's all he's made. Able to take down the Void Ray from his opponent there. He's going to go straight to this third base, but I think Arthur has enough to defend against this. Again, Arthur has this Nexus on the way, and he has the Spear Economy, but oGsjookTo going to try to make it work, throwing down so many infested turrets. Arthur might just end up canceling this Nexus, but here come the Colossus on the field. But Arthur deciding, alright, I'm not going to engage that. You can use your energy, I'll delay that third, but Arthur still has that supply lead, 99 to 91. Still more Colossi in production, adding on 2 additional gateways. And it's not like he should feel pressured to take that third, considering oGsjookTo's third is so late, and oGsjookTo's econ is so low. And I gotta expect Arthur, you know, he realizes this, so he's perfectly content delaying that Nexus a little bit. And just now putting down that Nexus. And oGsjookTo has to be careful here. I mean, he has a lot of infestors, but he could easily get trapped by Arthur. What do we got here? Plenty of Stalkers, Sentries, and Colossus. Actually, not too many Sentries. But the Colossus, those are going to be the damage dealers against this composition. And Arthur sees all of this with that Phoenix. Nice force fields there from Arthur. Taking down some free Zerglings there. Not too bad at all. Another Colossus coming forward here. From Arthur. Adding on additional gateways. Thermal Lance is completed. He does have Blink. Let's see his upgrade progression. He's currently... ooh, +2 on the weapons. +0 on the armor. And I don't know how Arthur stops this push, I'll be completely honest. Funkel's going down here from oGsjookTo, trying to solve this, how oGsjookTo is going to defend this push, I should say. Colossus absolutely destroying the Lings, and Arthur is so far ahead in this game, 139 to 95. Investors, though, aren't able to be detected. I don't know if there's an observer in this composition. No observers here. So Arthur going to come forward to this third base. This hatcher is definitely going to die. oGsjookTo going to have to pull all of his drones away. Or he's going to try to engage with these investors. Now, there's no observers here, so oGsjookTo just going to try to throw down a bunch of infested Terrans, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Arthur going to back away from this. Some Funkles going down onto the Colossi to try to keep them in place, but the Colossus is doing so much damage to those infested Terrans. Link's going to try to swing in from the side. Corruptor's finally joining in on the fun, but there's the GG from oGsjookTo. So, Arthur is going to take game number 1 in this semi-final. And we'll be back after a quick break with game 2 as soon as I can get it littered up. Don't go anywhere. Test. 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 Check. My mic sounds really low to me. And the game sounds are impossibly high to me, but in game they look fine. Try to fix that really quick. Alright, the next map is going to be Wightbane Jorge. I'm just kidding. I think it's funny to call it that. It's Wightbane Gorge by NewSunshine. And without any further ado, got a pretty entry animation. Oh, y'all can't see it because it's loading. There it is. Alright, let's get started here. This is going to be game 2. As I close the Brood War music. This is going to be game 2 of semi-final A of Map of the Month September. In the bottom left-hand location, we have the Zerg player in the yellow. He is oGsjookTo. Was pretty easily defeated in game 1. Went for really low econ, fast infestor Zergling, but Arthur was able to get Colossus out, and it didn't do much at all. Arthur did a great job retaining map control throughout the game. Of course, Arthur is your Protoss player in the top right-hand location. And the map is, as I said before, Wightbane Gorge. Is that correct? Yes, Wightbane Gorge by NewSunshine. Let's talk about the map. That's what this is about. Map of the month. A bunch of really cool maps being introduced by the community, made by the community. Hopefully, maybe one day we'll see these maps in professional play used a lot. We'll keep an eye on that. I have my own opinions about these maps, but I'm gonna see how they play out. Again, that's another purpose of this tournament, to see what kind of games play out. And let's look at this map. All right, we got a main base. It's pretty big here. Now I wonder if this blocks vision. Like if the probe is like up against here, if it can't see beyond. But that is a huge main base. And you got a cliff right there, so interesting. Like a pylon here, and then you can warp in on the high ground. And if you're behind this, if your opponent doesn't have something over here, it can be tricky. From a Terran point of view, I guess some kind of tank push along this side, but this is a pretty hard avenue to get to from your side of the map. Let's see. This is a huge main base. This is actually very large main base. I don't think Colossus can walk down here. This seems like it's two cliffs, one cliff, one cliff. We got a ramp going down to the natural expansion. Much smaller natural expansion compared to the main base. Wow, we got a really sizable ramp here. And actually, is that... Okay, there's just high ground. Interesting. This is kind of like... this is high ground over the natural third. So, drops here can be really difficult to deal with at the third base. On a ramp leading to high... This reminds me of that new ladder map, the really big one. Now, what would be the more natural third here? Would it be this one? Let me think for a second. Let's see here. Watchtower is pretty far away, so watchtower control isn't going to be as necessary on this map as the last one. There's plenty of paths that can sneak around the watchtower, though the watchtower radius, or whatever you call it, does extend to pretty much the only crossing point over here. So if you have watchtower control, you can pretty much see anything coming across the map. Unless they come this way. Oh, okay, a player could just come this way and then sneak around here, but this watchtower controls, is able to see that, so they'd have to sneak all the way around in this direction, which is doable. There's no rocks along this path, so that could be a sneak attack. Players are definitely going to have some unit over here checking what's up, an observer at the very least on this side as well. This is a symmetric map. But yeah, back to which one's the more natural third. If you take down these rocks, which you could presumably do, you could completely wall in here, and then your out would be here. So this is like similar to like an Ohana, where you can completely wall off your natural expansion, and then go straight into the third base. Yeah, this is a lot like Ohana, but unlike Ohana, there's a lot of entrances to this third base. Or would this be the third base? No, I think absolutely this would be the natural third base. And then you can swing back around and take this fourth, or continue along this path and take this third base. Maybe wall off down here, but walls on the low ground is kind of silly. But yeah, as far as versus Ohana, this third is... There's a lot of entrances, a lot of surface area you got to protect. So I guess start your wall along this pylon, gateway. If you're a Protoss, supply depot. But let's see what these players are up to. oGsjookTo once again refusing to take that fast third base, and Arthur knows this. He has a pylon right next to that natural third. We see oGsjookTo scouting into his opponent's base with an Overlord. Oh, I accidentally hit the back button. I gotta rebind that. He's gonna try to see if he can spot that. Excuse me. Okay, so he does see the Stargate. So similar opening here from Arthur, and oGsjookTo immediately going for a Hydra Den. Very interesting play. Now oGsjookTo needs to, or Arthur, I should say, needs to identify this. I would scout with my first Phoenix, because my opponent already knows I have Stargate, so you know there's no element of deception, or there's no element of surprise as far as, okay, let's go ahead and wait for 4 Phoenix. There's really no reason to do that. I would probably send my first Phoenix to scout for Overlords and to go scout my opponent. And then once this Phoenix flies across the map, he's going to see the Hydras. Now oGsjookTo could just be utilizing the Hydras only for defense, which is a little bit interesting because you could just build 2 extra queens, and you don't have to build the Hydra. You don't have to build those Hydras, and you can use the larva on, say, drones. But he's building 7 Hydras here. So this implies he might want to be aggressive, but I see that being a problem on this map, considering it's such a long rush distance. Incredibly long rush distance on this map. And if you're going to engage your opponent's natural expansion, you're going from the low ground to the high ground. We already see a Robo on the way from Arthur, and he's just going to hide these Phoenixes, which is a little bit bizarre to me, considering his opponent did scout the Stargate. Now, there is the thing if there's a lot of metagame implications as far as, alright, Arthur's like, okay, he scouted my Overlord, or he scouted my Stargate, but he thinks I'm going to cancel it, and oGsjookTo could be like, oh wow, he probably canceled that Stargate, so that's why he's hiding the Phoenixes? But I don't know, he's just going to wait for 4, and we'll see what he ends up doing here. Might pick up the Sling, nope, going to leave him alone. Might just go directly for a Queen, but there are Hydras in position at the 3rd base, and again, the question is oGsjookTo going to be aggressive with these? Because as the game wears along, or as the game goes along, the Hydras are going to become weaker and weaker, more and more useless. Oh, the Phoenix is going down! So the Hydras are already paying for themselves, but Arthur realizes, okay, my opponent went for Phoenixes. Or Arthur, I should say, my opponent went for Hydras. So he should be like, alright, I'm going to go right into Colossi production, which should be what's about to pop up there. Yep, there's a Colossus in that production tab. So Arthur going to go into that Colossus production. Of course, as a defense against a potential Hydra push, but it looks like oGsjookTo isn't really intending on doing a Hydra push, just using these Hydras exclusively for defense, but he's still building a Spore Crawler, so I still think, not to be critical at all, but I still think maybe the Queen option would be a little bit better, but you could consider, okay, if you make Hydras, your opponent has to start preparing for those, so maybe you're throwing your opponent off, but again, the Colossus is like a natural progression from this build, so Arthur really not changing his plans based on the Hydras that he saw. Well, we'll see what happens here. Arthur electing not to completely wall this off, and it looks like he made that gap a little bit too big, so a Stalker's going to have to sit there to defend, rather than ideally the Zealot. That's a little bit annoying for Arthur. Going to warp in some more Stalkers here. Doesn't have a ridiculous sentry count, and it looks like oGsjookTo is making a lot of roaches after taking that 3rd base. Has both the gases. There's Spires on the way, but there's no hive or anything, so this implies he wants to go for Mutas, and he has the gas to do it. He has 1,000 gas on the field. And that's an interesting decision to make, considering Arthur opened up with Phoenixes. How can you really feel confident in going Mutas? But then again, there's a lot of metagame implications as far as, okay, he made Phoenixes, but he's probably going to transition fast out of it because he saw my fast Hydras. So he won't necessarily be prepared for Mutas. A lot of metagame there. But Arthur is incorporating a lot of Stalkers here. Blink is on the way, +2 is on the way, so as long as he sufficiently splits up his Blink Stalkers, Mutas shouldn't be a problem. However, we're about to see a lot of Mutas on the way. Once these Overlords finish, we're going to see 13 Mutas pop. Oh, it's going to be Corruptors. Okay, that's fine. Just going for Ling Roach, Hydra Corruptor. That's fair. That's fair. I guess he feels like enough time has passed where the Mutas won't do a lot of economic damage. And of course, Corruptor's really good against those Colossus. So I'm definitely okay with this decision. Gonna have +1 on those Corruptors as well. And there's no +1 armor upgrade. Oh yeah, there's a +1 armor upgrade, so he's fine. But no +2. He's prioritizing the +2 weapons right now instead of the +2 armor. And Arthur decided to take this 3rd base at the middle right. And I feel like oGsjookTo is like completely free to take this base right now, so really not sure why he hasn't done it yet. oGsjookTo really liking to stay low-ish econ, really focusing on that army right now, only at 67 drones. Ideally to be at like 75, 76, 77, 78. Ideally 100, then you make a bunch of spines. But again, it's all stylistic. oGsjookTo setting up a flank here, coming in from the left-hand side and from the right-hand side. This is a weakness of trying to hold this base. Arthur is not in the best position. Keep in mind, there are no Infestors to throw down the focus to keep this army in place. The Stalkers blink to the right-hand side, but oGsjookTo has a great spread on all of his units. The importance of that spread is being shown because the Colossus is forced to not fire necessarily in a concentrated area, but Arthur has way too much. oGsjookTo forced to back away. The good news is for oGsjookTo, all the Colossi were cleaned up, but Arthur incorporating Immortals now, anticipating that his opponent would probably overmake those Corruptors, and now Arthur is going to start counterattacking here. And does oGsjookTo have a response to this, making 7 Hydras But these corruptors are essentially useless. Keep in mind, there's no hive, there's no potential for Greater Spire, there's no potential for Broodlords, so what are these corruptors going to do? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 corruptors. 2 supply. They are 2 supply, right? I'm not completely dumb. Let me make sure. Yeah, they are 2 supply. So that's a lot of supply caught up in corruptors. So we could have a situation where if Arthur can max, he could do a lot of damage. Right now, though, Arthur going to be blinking back, staying away from those Roaches, Hydras, and Lings. But oGsjookTo has so much stuff here, up 180 to 118 in that supply. Arthur going to get absolutely surrounded. A little bit funny seeing the Hydras pursue these units. And at this point, Arthur should just run with those Stalkers. Just blink out and get out of there. But oGsjookTo has air control. He should realize that, and he should realize that, okay, my opponent's not able to Colossi, so Hydras can actually work. Now the problem is if Arthur transitions to Storm, like a Stalker Immortal Storm type composition, that could be problematic. Because Storm, again, that's stuff that does deal damage to those Hydras, Roaches, and Lings, that the Stalkers and Immortals can't necessarily do. And again, oGsjookTo has a lot of supplies soaked up into those Corruptors. Of course, that would change if oGsjookTo started that hive, if he started that Greater Spire, but he doesn't even have a 4th yet. Really staying low econ. His main is actually approaching getting mined out. Only 100 minerals, 95, 10, 315. So yeah, his mine is absolutely getting mined out. But oGsjookTo going to engage in the natural expansion here with the Lings, Roaches, Corruptors, and Hydras. But Arthur looks like he's prepared. That seems like a relatively easy spot to defend. oGsjookTo's maxed, and now he's finally adding on that Infestation Pit. But Arthur, he's not adding on any additional tech here. All he has are Stalkers and Immortals. And against this type of composition, I'm not incredibly fond of. But we'll see what happens here. Arthur engaging on the right-hand side. Keep in mind, there are no force fields able to be utilized by Arthur. Oopsie daisies, my mouse control is terrible lately. oGsjookTo coming in with all the Roaches, Hydras. But does Arthur have too much stuff? Upgrades show 2-1 in priority of the weapons upgrade, but oGsjookTo is 2-2 on the missile and melee. Corruptors overhead doing absolutely nothing. It looks like Arthur should be able to overpower oGsjookTo here. He's trying to make 68 Lings in the reinforcements, but they need to join, and they need to join fast because oGsjookTo is slowly losing every single one of his units. And oGsjookTo finally adding on a 4th base. Pathogenic Lands is underway. He has 2,000 gas. And his composition so far has been mineral-centric. It hasn't been gas-centric, like adding on Broodlords. He hasn't had to add on Corruptors, hasn't been adding on Broodlords, hasn't been adding on Infestors, so that means he has 2,000 gas to utilize. So I would expect him to make a lot of Infestors coming up here. I would expect at least 15 to queue up in that production tab. Actually, that would be too much, because that would be 3,000 gas. So I would expect to see about 10. Math. I'm so bad at math. We'll keep an eye on that. Any second now, those Infestors should be being made. oGsjookTo trying to make stuff happen with the Lings. Arthur realizes his opponent's unit's composition, so he's going to start speckling in those Zealots, and we see 6 Infestors in production. He can make a lot more. There they are, 8. He can still make a lot more. Is he out of larva? Let's see here. He has plenty of larva. Oh, I don't know. He's maybe saving gas for Broodlords, which is fine. Greater Spire on the way here. I mean, he doesn't have a ridiculous amount of gas. He's just now adding on the 7th and 8th gas, so saving gas for Broodlords, I'm definitely okay with. But now it's kind of a problem because he's on 4 bases, but where do you really take your 5th on this map as a Zerg player? You can take it way over here, but that's so far away from your main. He doesn't even have creep over there yet. There's these 2 options up here, but again, there's no creep over there, so it's going to be incredibly hard to defend for oGsjookTo. But we shall keep an eye on that. Arthur coming to the bottom side here with so many Stalkers, Zealots, Sentries, and an Immortal. And this is as good a time as any to attack because, again, the Greater Spire hasn't kicked in yet. But oGsjookTo does have those Infestors, plenty of Lings and Roaches. Oh, Arthur poking forward. Deciding if he wants to commit. I don't know if he knows about these Infestors. But at this point in the game, it's one of those things where why wouldn't your opponent have them? But now Arthur realizes it. Does he still elect to engage? That's so many Lings, and if his army gets fungled and the Lings surround, what is he really going to do? So Arthur going to back away. We do have a Ling at his potential 4th base, and we have 6 Broodlords in production, so I really like oGsjookTo in this game. Arthur is out of resources, essentially, still making the low-tier units, the Sentry Stalkers, Zealots Immortals, relative to this point in the game, low-tier. Arthur bringing forward, and oGsjookTo going to try to engage here. Ling's swarming forward here, and the Infestor's throwing down those Fungal Growths, but I don't see this working out well for Arthur, but the Stalkers really showing their power, killing a lot of these units, but the Broodlords have now popped. And honestly, if the Broodlords hadn't popped there, that could have been really good for Arthur, considering those Infestors, they're completely out of energy, so there's no ability to Fungal Growth. Arthur going to swing around the side here. He's going to attack from 2 different locations, bringing his Immortal Sentries and Zealots along with some Stalkers down the bottom side of the map, while trying to distract these Stalkers at the middle left. Really nice positioning here from Arthur, engaging at 2 sides of the map, but there are plenty of spines here from oGsjookTo, so is that going to be enough to hold this off? Okay, the Broodlord's coming in, so that should be enough, but is this base vulnerable on the left-hand side? Great splitting up of units here from oGsjookTo, but Arthur going to have the stronger army on this side. oGsjookTo has the stronger army on the other side, but oGsjookTo's not going to be able to hold this space, I don't think. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Fungal's trying to be thrown down here by oGsjookTo. But that's a lot of Stalkers. I would almost target this hatchery down and then get out of there. That's what I would almost do. Let's see. Okay, he's still going to come in. Actually taking down some Stalkers here. Pretty nice trades. Now going to blink away and get out. Arthur, again, he doesn't have a 4th buy in this. He's pretty much starved. He's staying on the lower tech relative to the time period. It's not like he's going into Colossus production. It's not like he's going into High Templar production. It's not like he's going to Archon, Stargate, Mothership, trying to take down that hatchery, but he's just going to get out of there. He has his eyes set. He definitely wants to kill that. And this is kind of cool because oGsjookTo realizes his opponent's Stalkers are all on this side of the map. So he can be aggressive with these Broodlords, assuming his opponent doesn't have a Void Ray. Now, his opponent did open Phoenixes in this game, so, you know, a Void Ray popping out would be a good decision. It would take down every single one of these Broodlords. But Stalkers finally going to get corralled up and killed by oGsjookTo. 3 get away. At the same time, doing an engagement at the middle right-hand side. Arthur really wants to press his base and wants to kill it immediately. Keep in mind, all of oGsjookTo's Broodlords on the other side of the map trying to be aggressive. But is oGsjookTo going to have enough worth of reinforcements to deal with it? I think he is. That's a lot of Infestors and a lot of infested Terrans. And Arthur, I think he's dead. Arthur is most certainly dead in this game. Very interesting. Very interesting game. Let me think about this for a second. Yeah, there's the GG. So oGsjookTo able to show Hydra as being effective. Arthur just never really was able to get the tech up. I mean, he had Colossi at one point, but oGsjookTo was able to clean that up with the Corruptors. And then Arthur kind of forfeited the air control race as far as, alright, I'm not building any more Colossi because my opponent has too many Corruptors. But then he didn't add in any additional tech. So he was stuck on pretty much Stalkers, Zealots, and Immortals against a pretty strong unit comp from oGsjookTo. Again, the Infestors and the Broodlords. And Arthur had no response. So that's going to conclude Game 2 of the Semifinal A. This is a best of 3. Game 3 going to be coming up after a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Shout out to Zach and Nick Rainish, aka Axlab, for retweeting this tournament on the Twitters. Alright, the next map, let's see what it's going to be here. I'm excited. This is fun. It's so refreshing seeing these new maps. Okay, this is going to be Breaking Point. It looks like. Is that an accurate statement? Yeah, this is going to be Breaking Point. Let's go ahead and get into the game. Without any further ado, let me look at the chat. What's up, chat? How's it going, chat? Your face is dark. Don't call my face dark. Alright, let's scroll in here. Alright guys, welcome back to Map of the Month. $400 on the line here. Lots of great players involved. We're in the middle of a best of 3 between spawning in the bottom right hand location. It is Arthur. His opponent in the top left, it is oGsjookTo. They are tied 1-1. Winner of this advances on to the finals. Pretty exciting stuff here. So happy you could join me. My name is Axeltoss. Follow me on the twitch.tv. Alright, so this is going to be Breaking Point by Mereel. Let's look at it. Let's see what's up. Let's see what's going on here. So, we got a main base. As we do in most maps. Ooh, what? Look at this. Oh my gosh, what a pain this would be. Okay, so the main base is actually huge. Imagine a probe hiding a pylon down here. I wonder if a pylon could fit right here or right here. You have to scout that. Scout for a proxy over there every time. Let's look at the bottom here. Okay, let's see. Looks like there is a one ramp right here. Here's the natural. Oh, that's pretty crazy. There's minerals there. This looks like a headache to Forge Fast expand on. You would wall this off immediately as a Protoss, which is exactly what... Oh, Arthur actually opening up... Oh, no. Okay, open up with a pylon and a forge, so it definitely has the potential to put down a cannon here. So this is fancy. I guess, if you wanted to risk something here, oGsjookTo, you know, with like 6 lings can come over here. Bring like... How many drones would that be? How many is it per... It's 5. Is that right? Yeah, it's 5. So 5 minerals per. So with 31, so that's 6. 6 times 5 is 30. So you would have to bring 7 drones over here. I wonder how effective that would be. So right now, presumably, oGsjookTo could send 7 drones and 6 lings, or however many lings. Mine these minerals, get rid of them, and then attack with the 7 drones and 6 lings. I think that could be really effective right now. And that's definitely something that oGsjookTo could have the capability of having right now. How would your opponent stop it? Well, they can just build a pylon here, and it wouldn't be nearly as effective, or just a pylon gateway, and then a forge behind it. But step 1 is identifying it, and the rush distance is so long. Arthur clicking on it, he's like, what? What's going on here? But yeah, the rush distance is so long. As a Zerg player, or as the attacker, you have to... well, I guess this is only really applicable to Zergs. Yeah. Of course, one force field would shut it down. But yeah, I think that'd be something cool to try on this map. Pull 7 drones, 12 lings, mine this mineral patch, and then break in and do your damage. Okay. Just thinking, let's look at the rest here. The natural third would be here. You can mine these minerals, or you can break these rocks and take that. Now, walling this off would be a challenge as a Protoss. But oGsjookTo, we've seen, just refuses to take the fast third. Breaking that metagame here. And he's adding on a Bane list, so it looks like he's going for a Bane link bust here on 2 bases. Let's look at it from Arthur's point of view. Yeah, this definitely would be the natural third. Now, this is interesting. It's a mineral line facing the opposite direction, which you don't see on a lot of maps. It's kind of creepy. Oh, that's so creepy to think about. Like, imagine you're a probe and you're mining here. Like, the great thing about being a probe in the game of StarCraft 2 is, like, your back is always to your side of the map. You know, your mineral line is always to your side of the map. So you're like, you're chilling. As you're mining, you're always watching this area out of the corner of your eye, right? You're just mining. You're not even worrying about over here because there's nothing. So you're like, all right, what's going on here? But here, imagine as a probe, you're mining these minerals, and you're always having to worry about something coming in from back here. That'd be the scariest thing ever. You have to be worried about all sides. Ugh, I don't want to be a probe there. But here we go, oGsjookTo going for that Baneling bust. That's a lot of Banelings. Does Arthur have any idea? Only one force field, only one sentry here, only one force field available. I think oGsjookTo might win it here. Actually, I think oGsjookTo is going to win it. There's only one sentry, and that's not going to be enough to deal with these amount of Banelings. And here we go. Arthur realizing, uh-oh, this is not good at all. Force field goes down, but guess what? The Baneling's going straight into the Gorge and the gateway. They both go down. The Zergling's now trying to stream in, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Arthur does not have Warp Gate. Does not have gateways changing into Warp Gate. The Cyber Core is gone, and Arthur is going to lose this game. oGsjookTo taking game 3, which means he will advance to the finals. We didn't really get to experience this map that much, and I think it's a pretty cool map. Definitely looking forward to seeing more games on it. Again, this is TPW Breaking Point by Mereel. Yeah, so that should be it. oGsjookTo going to take it. oGsjookTo going to advance to the finals. Congratulations to this guy. And while probes are dying, there they are. Trying to attack, they're going to die. Fourth is over here. Watchtowers are wonky. This watchtower and this watchtower. You have no vision of the center. I think you have vision to the edge of this ramp. And this is the only pathway. That's a crazy. This is a crazy middle of the map here. Look on there. There's just a choke. There's just one ramp on both sides, and there's smoke. That's pretty funny. So, honestly, the main attack pass would be along the right side and the left side. But, again, if you have watchtower control, that's important. But there's GG from Arthur. Hopefully we see another TPW Breaking Point map. So, oGsjookTo will advance to the finals, which means we're going to have the next semifinal coming up. Do not evacuate the premises, because you would be missing StarCraft 2. And we all know you don't want to miss StarCraft 2.